Це 220.
This is 225th day of Ukrainian resistance. Media Center of Ukraine Forum works. We are starting our briefing. Our guest is Fedir Venislavskyi, the representative of the President of Ukraine, Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine, MP, famous lawyer, and the questions we're going to discuss, they're going to be legal questions. Russia finished its so-called legal track from the pseudo-referendums to signing the order of the President, thus formalizing, in their opinion, all of this process of illegal annexation. What will Ukrainians' legal fight will look like? Good afternoon, dear journalists, viewers. This is a very simple question, and the President of Ukraine answered in his orders that we do not accept any legal force behind President Vladimir Putin's orders. I wouldn't call it a referendum, even this is the imitation of voting. This is a performance, as our president said. It clearly does not have any legal consequences because it is legally not viable. The lawyers understand. This does not have anything to do with the reality, and for no one. It never has any kind of legal consequences, ever. These performances that happened in the temporarily occupied territory of Ukraine, it means that the Ukrainian territory, as it is acknowledged by the internationally acknowledged borders, will remain integrated, and Ukraine will use all political and military means to free our territories from their occupants. There are no limitations for actions of Ukraine in the military or political sphere, and these decisions made in Russia do not have impact on this. The decision of our Council of National Defense and Security that was implemented by the order of the President, if we translate what the President said to the people's language, to have any kind of negotiation with people who live in the imaginary parallel world that doesn't have anything to do with reality, neither in the international legal sphere, nor in the moral ethical sense, nor in the international sense. It doesn't make any sense to do this. So while the president of the neighboring country, of the aggressor country, is Vladimir Putin, we can have no negotiation. We are taking the actions that we need to take to deoccupy. On the Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine, in the nearest time, in the very short perspective, it will also adopt a document, and we will be asking the international organizations, the parliaments of foreign countries, the governments of foreign countries, to demand also to acknowledge these actions of the Russian Federation as criminal actions. And also we will ask to increase the sanction pressure on the Russian Federation because of the violation of the international law and primarily the UN statute. And also the Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine will be asking regarding the illegal presence of the Russian Federation as a permanent member of the Security Council of the UN. As we have mentioned many times, Russia, without any legal grounds, has adopted this place for itself in the members of the UN Security Council. Soviet Union is mentioned there as a member, and Russia could not inherit legally this position. And all the countries that were members of the Soviet Union, they have equal legal rights, including in the activities of the UN. And also in our document, in Verkhovna Rada, we draw attention to the fact that the actions of the Russian Federation, they are even formally are not according to the criteria mentioned in the UN statute about the membership of the country in this international organization, the country that destroyed the basis of the functioning of UN, violated it. It cannot be a permanent member of the Security Council. It can hardly be a member of UN itself. Also, Verkhovna Rada is asking the international organizations, the government, the parliaments of other countries to help Ukraine and consolidate effort on creating special international criminal court as the Nuremberg trial. That will provide for the possibility to bring the higher command, political and military command of the Russian Federation. In my opinion, they are guilty 100%. Diplomatically, we are saying that they also probably related to those horrible crimes of the international and legal nature that Russia is committing in the territory of Ukraine. But unlike Ukraine, that after the war has fully acknowledged the jurisdiction of the International Criminal Court and the Rome Statute in the territory of Ukraine, the Russian Federation did not ratify the Rome Statute. So in terms of international law, to bring it to responsibility in the International Criminal Court will be rather complicated. I don't want to say that it will be impossible, but it will be rather difficult. But if we create this special International Criminal Court ad hoc, so for the specific case that was provoked by Russia, that the actions of the Russian Federation on starting the unprovoked aggression and groundless war against Ukraine started. This is a crime of the international legal issue in itself, which is also mentioned in the Rome Statute. If we consolidate together with our Western partners, the other states, there is high possibility that those who are making the decisions, almost all the top command of military and political command in Russia, starting from the president and ending with the Security Council of the Russian Federation, all the high military command that was issuing criminal orders, and those who were implementing those orders, they can be brought to international criminal responsibility. So the idea to create this international court, it is also very right because it provides for not covering those people with the immunity. Can I clarify here? Should it be one court or two courts? There are several initiatives. One of the initiatives is on the higher command of Russia. There is also the initiative, the idea of the international court that will document those lower level crimes when a soldier, an officer was issuing those illegal orders. Will these processes be separate? As it happened in the Nuremberg trial, we are saying that a special international criminal court will be created with the participation of the wider circle of international subjects, maybe with the participation of the UN. It will be looking at the crimes of aggression. The decision about aggression was made by the higher political and military command of the Russian Federation, so this court will have the opportunity to issue court orders of extraterritorial nature wherever those people are, whatever diplomatic or political immunity a certain representative of authorities of the aggressor country has, they may be detained and also sent to this court. This is what we are asking the partner countries, the member countries, and the entire world community and international organizations. Also, in this appeal, we suggest that all the means that are mentioned in almost all international criminal law to bring people to responsibility, to hold them accountable, those crimes, they need to be held accountable for. And crimes that are committed in the territory of Ukraine, there is extraterritorial nature, so people can be detained. So we are asking for universal international legal mechanism that will allow to bring people to accountability for committing international crimes in the territory of Ukraine. This is the legal answer of Verkhovna Rada regarding the actions we are talking about. Does this mean that after victory, we will be demanding to give these criminals to Ukrainian judicial system? Well, the Committee for National Defense and Intelligence, we're discussing at the international level a very interesting idea to provide for national legislation. We're working on formalization and developing the draft laws. We are thinking that international law, we can provide for the opportunity to bring all military criminals, the criminals who represent the aggressor country and other countries who are also participating in the war on the side of the aggressor country, who committed war crimes in the territory of Ukraine, without any limitation about terms, about the time, to send them to the territory of Ukraine to be tried. It is like the Israel Mossad is doing on searching the criminals of World War II and bringing them to responsibility. I think that this would be an option to answer these actions of the Russian Federation. There is a question, Ukrinform, Irina Odorenko, I have a question regarding people, Ukrainians, who have been forcefully taken to the territory of Russia. Will this issue also be viewed during the special war tribunal, military tribunal, to bring those people back home? I want to give a broader answer to your question, because what the aggressor country is doing, what the occupational authorities are doing regarding Ukrainian citizens, not only about forceful deportation de facto outside of Ukraine, but also any actions that are currently, that the Russian Federation are currently trying to use to legitimize the things we talked about today. They are the violation of international conventions on treating civilian citizens during the war. Not only forceful deportations and relocation, but also involvement of population of the occupied country into any political actions, into the army of the occupant country as combatants. This is the violation of international humanitarian law. And all of this will 100% will be a subject to be viewed in international criminal jurisdictions and institutions. Another question. Russia, with its actions, more or less created a long-term problem and causes related to Ukraine. After the victory, will we demand that Russia somehow destroys this casus belli? Will we ask them to adopt some other legislation so that in 10, 15, 20 years, they will not come up with something else? I think that the same that it happened after World War II, as a result of the Nuremberg trial, there will be certain ideologies and certain organizations will be banned. And I think that in the national court, we will be able to make decisions that will help those ideas at any level that now exist in the Russian Federation not to be spread further, not to happen again. So the International Criminal Court at the expert level will be talking about all preventive measures that will prevent these things from happening again, the way that is happening in the territory of Ukraine. And the final question, it is for ordinary people who hear that that country acknowledged something, that country did not acknowledge something. Why? From the legal standpoint and diplomatic standpoint, it is very important not to acknowledge or to acknowledge the results of the so-called pseudo-referendums. Well, the thing is, here we can't even discuss it from a legal standpoint, because as I have already said, any actions of the aggressor country in the political sphere, they are legally void. So we can say in simple words, what Putin is trying to do regarding the parts, the temporarily occupied territories of Ukraine, is something that Hitler even didn't come up with. During World War II, he occupied half of Europe. And even the lawyers could not imagine that you can use this way in a country that is not fully occupied to say that this is our country, part of our country. So in this case, I'm very interested. I would be very interested to look into the eyes of the lawyers who are either so afraid that they cannot even describe the absurdity of the ideas that Putin produces, and they acknowledge it at the level of the Constitutional Court of the Russian Federation, and it denied itself because it is already not a constitutional court. It is some kind of, I don't know what to call them. It is some kind of an organized criminal groups that acts with formerly famous lawyers as had that have discredited themselves by now, and they are now outside this legal space by doing what they're doing now. So it is important for us to understand that the territories of Ukraine, no matter what the decisions are made in the imagination, in the sick imagination of the leaders of the Russian Federation, all Ukrainian territories are full and their integrity is maintained. Second, even the consequences change. We cannot review the international bilateral, multilateral agreement on state borders. So there is agreement between the Russian Federation and Ukraine. This agreement cannot be cancelled. According to the Vienna Convention about the international agreement law, it cannot be reviewed just like that. Ukraine is acknowledged as a territory. Its territorial integrity is acknowledged. Until the temporarily occupied territories are deoccupied, we will be working on this. Fedir Venislavskyi was with us, the representative of the President of Ukraine in Verkhovna Rada, MP of the Verkhovna Rada, we were talking about the legal fight of Ukraine against Russia in the legal front. Our next briefing is at 12:30. We'll be talking about Mykola Lukashuk. He is from Dnipropetrovsk Oblast. We'll be talking about the attacks of the Russians on the oblast. We'll see you soon.